All right, let's dive right into this brilliant and highly structured lesson plan for the letter R, created by Elementary Education Explorer Njeche T. Nfor. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are unpacking a fantastic curriculum from Crimson Grove titled R is for Remarkable Readers. So if you're involved in early childhood education, or even if you're just fascinated by how we acquire language, you are going to absolutely love the mechanics of this lesson. It's not just about memorizing some arbitrary shape on a page, it's a fully immersive, multi-sensory approach to early literacy. We're going to break down exactly why this specific lesson flow clicks so perfectly for young minds.
To see how this all comes together, we're going to follow a micro to macro arc. Here is our agenda for today. 1. The learning focus. 2. Meeting the letter R. 3. Featured vocabulary words. 4. Sparking stories with sentences. And 5. Practice and tracing steps. Let's get to it.
But before we get into the nuts and bolts, we really have to look at this thematic anchor. It sets the whole ethos right out of the gate. This curriculum isn't just about teaching a letter. It is explicitly aiming to build remarkable futures. By framing the student as a remarkable reader, literally from day one, it builds this immense sense of confidence. It tells the kids, hey, exploring new ideas and growing wiser, that's just who you are. It's such a powerful psychological primer for the learning that's about to happen.
Moving right along. Section 1. The learning focus. Setting clear expectations right at the start is absolutely crucial. And what's really interesting here is how the journey is clearly scaffolded for both the educator and the student. It explicitly outlines the steps from raw sound all the way to physical writing practice. No hidden agendas here. We move logically, recognize the letter, make it sound, apply it in words, read it in sentences, and finally practice writing it. This transparency completely lowers the cognitive load, making the whole process feel super manageable and, honestly, pretty exciting for everyone.
Which brings us to Section 2, Meeting the letter R.
This is the initial handshake with the alphabet, right? The lesson introduces R as a consonant. And look at this. Comparing the uppercase and lowercase side by side visually anchors the character recognition right in the child's mind. Notice how placing the big uppercase R right next to the little lowercase r immediately establishes that these two totally distinct shapes actually belong to the exact same family. It's a visual pairing that instantly demystifies capitalization for those early readers.
Okay, so once the eyes recognize the shape, the mouth has to master the sound. The curriculum brilliantly uses an enthusiastic call and response right here, cementing that auditory memory before demanding that remarkable readers reach for the stars. Getting kids to vocalize this together, literally saying out loud, turns what could be a totally passive visual exercise into this active, communal event. It's fun, it's engaging, and man, it really locks in that phonetic connection.
All right, Section 3, Featured Vocabulary Words.
So why does mastering that simple sound even matter? Well, because it allows us to expand outward into an entire universe of vocabulary. The source material gives us a super robust chart of 20 distinct words starting with R, but the real trick is how you use them. By categorizing a selection of these words, you can quickly weave together a mini narrative. I mean, just imagine a raccoon standing by a river looking up at a rocket. When you group these words into buckets, like animals, objects, and nature, you're giving the child's brain categorical hooks to hang all this new information on. It's an absolutely fantastic memory technique.
Next up, Section 4, Sparking Stories with Sentences. Building on that momentum we just talked about, the lesson transitions from isolated words into complete thoughts. This is where the magic really starts to happen, because we aren't just identifying things anymore, we're describing action. Notice how taking the rote vocabulary word rocket and placing it into this highly visual sentence just instantly fires up a young learner's imagination. A rocket on its own, it's just a noun, but a rocket blasting into the sky, well, that is an adventure. It shows the student that letters and words are literally the tools we use to paint pictures in our minds.
And now we get to this one, which brilliantly illustrates how the curriculum layers the R sound multiple times, rosa, red, rose, to reinforce the auditory lesson right within a narrative context. Actually, this isn't an accident at all. This is highly intentional alliteration, designed to repeatedly trigger that specific R sound on the tongue and in the ear, wrapping all that phonetic practice inside a really lovely descriptive sentence.
The sentences culminate beautifully with this thought, directly connecting their current phonetics exercise to the ultimate joy and adventure of reading. It perfectly reinforces the theme we saw at the very beginning of this explainer. It's essentially telling the student, look, all this hard work you're doing with sounds and letters, the payoff is unlocking amazing adventures. It gives their effort immediate, thrilling purpose.
And finally, we arrive at Section 5, Practice and Tracing Steps.
To ensure all this great information actually sticks, the lesson moves to the kinetic stage. You've seen it, you've heard it, you've spoken it, now you've got to physically build it. This isn't just a random assortment of worksheets either. It's a totally deliberate, step-by-step kinetic progression, moving a child from simple visual recognition all the way to physically writing core words like rabbit and rainbow. First, they just circle the letter, super easy visual identification. Then, they match a word to a picture to test comprehension. After that, they fill in the blanks, which adds a bit more responsibility. And finally, they pick up the pencil and trace the shapes themselves. It's a masterful, gradual release of responsibility.
I really love this part. The tracing section concludes with this incredibly encouraging catchphrase, keeping the emotional energy super high right as a student finishes their hard work. Let's be real, completing writing exercises can be pretty tiring for a young kid. So ending on a note that tells them to read, reach, and rise associates the effort of learning with positive, uplifting emotions. It makes them actually want to come back and do the whole shebang again tomorrow.
As we close out this Crimson Grove explainer, looking at this powerful final lesson footer, we really have to ask ourselves, how will you use these foundational building blocks to spark a child's love of reading today? The structure of this lesson absolutely proves that teaching reading is so much more than just basic phonics. It's about building confidence, sparking wild imagination, and laying the groundwork for a truly remarkable future. So, what's your next step going to be?